Hello everyone, I'm the Enforcer, and welcome to the breaking news. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and support us on Patreon, link in the description below. Today we have breaking news coming from around the world, as we have been able to hear that Russian ballistic missiles have slammed down inside of the city of Kyiv, hitting the British Council building and the European Union Commission building, all in a singular attack. This appears to be a direct confrontation against the United Kingdom and the European Union at large, as these ballistic missiles appear to have been targeted directly at these buildings, which are official representations and extensions of the European Union and the United Kingdom. At the same time, we have also been able to hear that the Yemeni Houthis are under a continuous bombardment by the Israeli Air Force and Israeli Navy, as explosions are continuing to break out throughout the capital city of Sanaa under Houthi control, which appear to suggest that the Israeli armed forces will not be stopping this air campaign until the Houthi Yemenis relent, at least for a temporary period of time. We are also continuing to hear outside of that in East Germany, it appears that there is multiple claims and statements that the Russian Federation is using a network of spies and drones to be able to try and surveil and conduct reconnaissance on Western arms shipments to the state of Ukraine. This is also coming at the same time as the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has made it incredibly clear that no Russia-Ukraine meeting will be happening anytime in the future, as any attempts to conduct one have completely collapsed. This is coming at the same time as the Russian Federation has stated that they have no plan to implement any ceasefire at any level, while they are continuing to suffer crippling blows from the state of Ukraine, including that of a Russian critical infrastructure system being hit within Tver, while we have also heard that the Samara refinery, which was hit just last night, is continuing to burn at this moment. Many are starting to call this month Black August, due to the amount of losses of refined fuel products and also Russian operational refineries throughout the Republic, as we have also been able to hear that it appears that around 23 to 25% of all Russian refining abilities have been knocked out and destroyed over just the past month alone. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians are supposedly conducting a drone attack against the Kerch Bridge, although we do not have any video or picture evidence of any air defense around the bridge or impacts of the bridge at this moment. There appears to be a rumor circling that there is an ongoing attack against the bridge. Last night, the Russians also hit a Ukrainian recon ship within the area of the Danube River Delta, while we have also been hearing that the Islamic Republic of Iran appears to be preparing to skirt around sanctions or more so issues with the West once again, as we are hearing that the Islamic Republic of Iran is attempting to reopen itself to IAEA inspections, but at the same time, satellite photography is showing that they are quite literally bulldozing some of the publicly known nuclear research and infrastructure capabilities of the Islamic Republic of Iran, largely trying to hide their evidence of nuclear weapons creation to the IAEA if they are to return. At the same time, satellite photography has also shown no proof that nuclear material has been moved from the Isfahan or Natanz research facilities, which are generally showing us that, at least at the moment, the Islamic Republic of Iran most likely moved the nuclear material before the strikes, meaning that the Islamic Republic of Iran still has the ability to research and produce nuclear weaponry with their enriched uranium that had already been pre-produced. Outside of that, we've also been able to see a US P-8 Poseidon continuing to conduct anti-submarine reconnaissance near to the area of the north of Norway after a Russian Yasin-class submarine was able to escape from the Gerald R carrier strike group after issuing a direct threat to the carrier and its strike group. We have loads of news to cover today, and we're going to be making sure to get y'all into each and every single major piece of it. And starting off with our largest and most important piece, we have been able to hear that the British Council mission and the European Union Commission building has been hit inside of Kyiv. We can actually see a picture here showing the direct damage to the British Council building, which is generally considered to be an extension of the British government. The British Council is a group that generally promotes and encourages people to follow or get interested in British culture, a way for the British to be able to project soft power into most regions of the world, as it exposes many populations to British culture. We also were able to hear that at the same time, the EU mission, which is the building responsible for the European Union's mission inside of Ukraine, was also hit as well by a Russian ballistic missile strike. These two actions are directly showing us that the Russian Federation has gone out of their way to hit these buildings, as they appear to have been within the direct area of the blast radius of the missile impacts, which also, from what we know, there were no military targets within the area. That largely means these missiles were targeting the British Council building and the European mission, or the European Union mission, inside of Kyiv. This is also making it even clearer at this point that the Russian Federation is trying to continue to signal that they are not willing to talk or have any interest in talking with the West or any Western affiliated nation, and as a matter of fact, not only will their missions be under attack inside of Ukraine, but U.S. economic interests, such as the factory hit at Mukachevo just a few days ago, also are viable targets for the Russian Federation's armed forces. Outside of that, we also were able to hear that within that drone strike last night, the Russians also did hit a Bayraktar factory within the city of Kyiv as well, according to reports that we got, and it does appear that most systems are nearly operational. However, it is highly likely that this facility will be out of action until repairs have been effected inside of the factory. At the same time, the Russian Federation also hit a Ukrainian recon ship that appeared to have been trying to hide inside the Danube River Delta, and we were actually able to see that spy ship getting hit and destroyed here. The Ukrainian armed forces did confirm the hit and sinking of the spy ship within the Danube Delta, and this video published by the Russian armed forces also appears to corroborate such a feat. This spy ship was very rarely, if ever, used and had largely been in hiding over the course of the entirety of the war due to the fear that the Russian Federation may be able to hit and destroy the spy ship if it was out at sea. It appears that it finally was hit by the Russian Federation after years of being able to hide, and largely the impact to the Ukrainian abilities in the war is non-existent. Nevertheless, the Russians are going to inflate this into some sort of a massive victory nonetheless, because that's what the Russians do. Moving on out of Ukraine, however, for a brief moment and on down into the area of western Yemen, we have also been able to hear that there is a continued airstrike campaign by the Israelis against the Yemeni Houthis within the capital of Sanaa, which is currently under Yemeni Houthi control. We were able to see video and picture evidence of large airstrikes that were occurring in the area, and to show you all one of those airstrikes, here it is.
يا الله يا الله شركة النفط الآن بتضرب شركة النفط الآن يا الله يا الله يا الله اشكرك يا الله اشكرك يا رب المواطن يا الله 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 خزان الناس مرانا محطة ذلك شباب جنين لا 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 شباب تمثل عنك تمثل عن شباب ضربة جديد ضربة جديد ضربة جديد يا رب تسلك على عبادك يا الله يجوا هذا تذكر الوعد الوحده مين
Quite a significant hit, to say the least, and it does appear that it was followed by several other hits throughout the entirety of the city of Sanaa once again, as we were also able to see additional hits here in this clip. This has come after the Yemeni Houthis have conducted over several months what could be called once-and-done attacks, where every single night they fire off a single missile or a single drone towards Israel, and the Israelis have to shoot it down. This is the reason why the Israelis are currently conducting an air campaign against the Yemeni Houthis, although we have not seen a U.S. or Israeli response for the continued attacks by the Yemeni Houthis against commercial shipping within the southern Red Sea or the Gulf of Aden. That still appears to be at large at the moment, and we're not seeing that any actions are being taken to protect global shipping interests, although that was a very important thing to the current U.S. administration several months ago, and still largely is an important thing for national security reasons and also global economic security reasons as well. Nevertheless, while all of that's been going on, we have been able to hear that it appears that the Russian Federation is conducting spy operations and reconnaissance operations within eastern Germany to try and figure out what kind of weapons are being sent. According to information that we've been able to get from multiple anonymous sources posted by the New York Times, Russia is spying on U.S. and NATO weapons in eastern Germany with drones. These drones, some possibly Iranian-made, are being launched from ships in the Baltic and are tracking weapons shipments that are heading to Ukraine. It appears that the Germans are planning on changing a law which will allow the military to shoot down drones near bases after repeated sightings at Ramstein and Bavaria. It does appear that at the moment, however, the concern is large that the Russian Federation is using drone forces to be able to conduct reconnaissance against the Germans and more so NATO supplies that are being shipped from Germany through Poland and on into Ukraine. This can pose major security issues in the future, as allowing the Russians this sort of a open transparency in the arms shipments may allow them to get a better idea at what Ukraine's supply rate is and what they need to do to be able to counter it, and also the specific weapons and equipment that's being sent. Outside of that, we also were able to hear that Friedrich Merz, the Chancellor of Germany, has stated that there will be no Zelensky and Putin meeting, much to the dismay of many, as Putin did promise with his word on a gentleman, or word as a gentleman. He's not really a gentleman, so he put it on a gentleman somewhere, that he was going to meet with Zelensky after the Anchorage, Alaska summit. It now appears that Dmitry Peskov is also adding in that there will not be any ceasefire of any kind, including an air ceasefire. The Russians will not be pursuing a single kind of ceasefire at all anywhere. And it's becoming incredibly clear once again that the Russian Federation is an incredibly hostile state that has no best interest inside the West or the United States in its pursuit, and should be continued to be treated as an enemy of the Republic and an enemy of the Western world at large. However, it appears that the Ukrainians are still treating them that way, as we were able to hear reports possibly that there is some sort of an ongoing attack against the Kerch Bridge at the moment, although we have no video or picture evidence to be able to confirm that attack or Russian air defense around the area of the Kerch Strait at all. So we are waiting to see if any of that will emerge at the moment, but beyond that, it appears that there is some sort of a rumor that there is an attack going on there at the moment. In the meantime, the Ukrainians have been continuing to do their best against the Russians. We were able to see that a main line in Russia was sabotaged in Tver, just north of Moscow, which we can see in this clip right here. We also were able to see that the Ukrainian armed forces have been able to land significant blows to the Samara refinery overnight inside the area of Kubyshev, which we could see right here, and it does show that the damage is fairly decent, and smoke is beginning to billow from the fuel silos that were hit and are on fire. As a matter of fact, the Ukrainian attacks against Russian refineries this month have been so bad, some are actually starting to dub it Black August, as it does appear that plant shutdowns have hit a historic record. According to information that's been compiled by multiple sources, it appears that 23 to 25% of all Russian refining abilities, quite literally 1 in every 4 barrels of usable fuel products refined per day, have been knocked out across the entirety of the Russian Federation. This sort of a hit is significant, and the damage is quite extreme, as it does appear that the Russian Federation is hemorrhaging barrels of oil that they will no longer be able to reproduce or be able to largely put into their economy. These sorts of fuel shortages are incredibly crippling to the future of the Russian Federation and its economic apparatus, as the entire modern world exists on energy exports or any form of energy imports to be able to keep their country running. If the Russians run out of refined fuel products such as gas and diesel, we will most likely see that their economy will come to a screeching halt. Even if productivity remains high during a temporary period in the factories, or more so the farms, there is no way to be able to transport those goods to the market due to the complete lack of fuel, meaning that an economic collapse would be imminent if the Russians pretty much entirely run out of any available fuel resources within their country, meaning that this month is quite truly a black month for the Russian Federation, as it may signal the death knell or the very end of the Russian economic stability that the Russians have heavily touted in the propaganda, but has never really been shown as true in the numbers. Moving on from that and into the Islamic Republic of Iran, we also have been able to hear some other interesting developments from the Islamic Republic. Starting off primarily, we have been able to hear that there appears to be no proof from satellite imagery showing that the Iranians have moved its near weapons-grade uranium from the Isfahan facility following U.S. airstrikes in June. This actually should suggest that this refined enriched uranium was actually moved beforehand, before the strikes in June. This would seem to line up with everything that we had been able to see and hear about before, meaning that the airstrikes did not hit their primary goals, and most of the enriched uranium is still at large somewhere inside the Islamic Republic of Iran. Not only that, we also were able to hear that it appears that the Islamic Republic of Iran is rapidly demolishing some nuclear sites at the moment, as a research group says that Iran is rapidly demolishing buildings at the Mudja nuclear site in Tehran, recently hit by Israeli strikes, likely to erase evidence of past nuclear weapons research. The cleanup coincides with IAEA talks on resuming inspections and Western moves to reimpose UN sanctions for Iran's nuclear deal violations. Satellite images are showing swift debris removal, raising concerns that Iran is sanitizing the site before inspections can visit, largely meaning that the Iranians are trying to avoid additional sanctions at this moment and also continue their nuclear weapons and research development largely out of view of the outside world, but still appeasing the IAEA inspectors at the same time. This is once again showing us that the Islamic Republic of Iran, like the Russian Federation, like the People's Republic of China, like the endless list of countries that do not have America's best interest or the West's best interest at heart, is continuing to act in deception of the West to try and ensure that they do not have sanctions implemented against them, but also allow them to create weapons of mass destruction that could potentially kill millions of people here in the West. Once again, making it incredibly clear that the Islamic Republic of Iran is not a country that the United States should be conducting in diplomatic negotiations or any sort of a compromise with, because they are not to be trusted as a nation. Nevertheless, we also were able to hear within the area of the northern regions of Norway that it appears that a U.S. P-8 Poseidon is still conducting reconnaissance at this moment to try and find the missing Russian Yasin-class submarine. This Yasin-class submarine on Sunday issued a threat to the USS Gerald R. Forward Carrier Strike Group under the command of the U.S. Sixth Fleet around the area of the southern Norwegian Sea, and then immediately disappeared. Since then, the NATO forces and the United States Navy have been on an endless reconnaissance operation to be able to try and locate this Yasin-class submarine. Considering that this P-8 Poseidon is conducting a search pattern near to the area of northern Norway, it is highly likely that at this moment the submarine has completely evaded NATO detection and has probably made it all the way back towards the area of Murmansk at this moment, because it does not appear that anyone has ever suggested that the submarine has been found, and it appears that the manhunt is still going on at large, now covering a wide area from the very northern end of the Norwegian Sea all the way down to the area of the southern end of the Norwegian Sea, where the USS Gerald R. Ford is currently at right now. Nevertheless, that is all of the breaking news that we have for today. And I've got to thank you all so much once again for watching and enjoying. And if y'all have enjoyed, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and support us on Patreon. The link is in the description below. Everyone who's supporting us on Patreon right now, we have to say that we are massively appreciative to them. And for just the cost of about a cup of coffee every month, about $5, you too can support this channel and help us to make these kinds of video projects possible and to keep them coming out on air every single day that there's enough news. But nevertheless, I got to thank you all so much once again for watching and enjoying, and I hope that y'all will meet us on the next stream tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, or in the next Shore War summary whenever we have enough news to be able to put out one again. And so with that, we will see you all then. Of course, thank you all so much once again for watching, and take care.